Welcome everybody to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and this evening I am joined by our good friend Kirk from Walrus Carp. Kate is still recovering from her trip overseas, so we have given her another week to kind of readjust to the correct time zone, and she'll be back with us next week. So tonight we've got our wonderful friend Kirk filling in, and tonight we are going to talk about park itineraries, which is something that Kirk and I are both fairly well versed in. So we figured it was a good chance for us to give you guys some good info on it.
Yeah, dude, she's lazy. She just doesn't want to. She could get up and do this. She doesn't want to do it. No, I'm just kidding.
That is not true. That is
It's
not
not.
true.
It's not. She's an amazing person. She needs a break.
Yes.
She's jet lagged. She
Yeah.
is European time.
Yeah.
She needs
Every
some
time I've
rest,
talked to her
so.
since she got back to the States, she's like, I don't know when I am. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. Nobody in my family has a clue. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you, because they went from West Coast to East Coast to UK time and then back to East Coast. So
Yeah. Well, I'll be less informative, but maybe more entertaining than Kate.
hey, whatever works, right? So basically what we did for this episode is we had some of our friends in our Mom Street community send us in kind of their lists of rides that they're hoping to tackle on their upcoming trips. And we are just kind of going to chat about it and look at different options for them and give some advice on what we think they should do for second, third, those types of things. You may get different viewpoints from Kirk. We may not always agree on everything, so we'll have to see kind of what? Blasphemy.
We'll agree on everything.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So we're just going to kind of work through a couple different itineraries. I will just put out the disclaimer that we are not sharing names of whose trips they are and specific dates and resorts they're staying at and those types of things. We're going to keep that kind of general just for safety purposes of those members in our community that are looking for the advice. Just want to keep everyone safe. So you'll hear us talk in kind of generics quite a bit, but I have informed the people that gave us the information, like, hey, if you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out so we can make sure that we can help, or feel free to put in the chat what you're welcome to put in the chat so those people know. But let's jump into this first trip, which actually is a trip from a friend that's coming up really soon in the first week of October.
Let's tackle that itinerary.
Is that the catchphrase for
I'm adding a new segment.
I love it.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Okay, so this is just a one-day itinerary that is 2 adults. They're park hopping, so we're starting in Epcot and then going to Studios. Just some general information for those of you that are listening in. They are staying on property, and they will be utilizing Genie Plus, and they also are eligible for a DAS Pass, so that is something that they'll be utilizing as well. So all of those little pieces of information are super important when we are going to be looking at different options for what they're going to be doing. So the day is going to start at Epcot. I'll give you the rundown of their yes, Kirk, do you have a question?
Why do these 2 adults not have Cosmic Rewind on their itinerary? What are they doing? Why are we even starting in Epcot? I'm just kidding. But seriously, what are you doing? It's interesting. It's interesting because they've got a bunch of roller coasters and some pretty aggressive rides. So I think it's kind of interesting that Cosmic is not making the list.
Yeah, I think Cosmic is one of those that can bother some people when other coasters don't, because it is.
Dude, they got Star Tours on here. You got Star Tours and we're worried about Cosmic? Like, people get sick on Star Tours all the time.
Katie says, this is not about you, Kirk.
I'm not saying it is. Okay, let's help this wonderful couple have an amazing experience.
And I do think that they're different. I mean, Cosmic Rewind has that backwards launch. It can be disorienting in the dark. So I do totally understand that could be a differing. Robot Kirk response. Okay, so the list that they do have is Ratatouille, Soarin', Living with the Land, Figment, and Three Caballeros. So that is their Epcot list. Now, keep in mind that this is a park hopping situation. So it's not something where they're going to the parks to try to hit every single thing in each of the parks. It's kind of their highlights that they're choosing. So Thank you, Kirk.
Yeah.
So, looking at their list, a couple different options that they have to start, in my personal opinion, because they are using Genie Plus and they are using DAS. Depending on if, now I will mention that with the DAS pass, if you are someone that qualifies for that and you book it ahead of time. So there's two different ways you can do it. You can book it ahead of time via phone and video call, or you can do it in park when you get there. So those two different options. If you do it ahead of time, you do have the ability to book 2 DAS return times ahead of time for the park you're starting in. They do not qualify. You cannot do it for like a park that you're park hopping to. It has to be the park that you have your reservation for that day.
I've always had a question about this.
Yeah.
Are there limitations on what attractions you can book?
Yes. So not every ride is included. And let me see if let me pull up that. It's hard to tell because sometimes I can find it online and sometimes I can't. But
Okay,
there
that's all good.
are rides that you can use. Let's
Yeah,
see
it
if this
seems
will
like
tell
it's
me.
less e-ticket type attractions. So
Yes.
when I've been with somebody who has DAS Pass and they're already like pre-booked for things, and long
Hmm.
story short of what Jackie's basically saying is you should probably do this ahead of time because then you get a little bit of a leg up in terms of planning process and being able to book some time slots of 2 attractions. That's like it reminds me of old school Fast Pass Plus when we could book our 3 attractions ahead of time. So if you're using that disability access service and that is something that you require, I think you're to utilize it better, you should get it set up ahead of time. It also
Yes.
removes some stress for some people because some people really stress about the process of that. At least
Hmm.
you know going in or not whether you need to even get Genie Plus. For some folks, you don't
Right.
necessarily need it. In this case, we're going to get on so many attractions. Like we're
Yeah.
going to crush on this
Yeah.
itinerary.
Yeah, exactly. So with DAS for Epcot, both Frozen and Remy are not available for pre-booking.
Which makes sense, right? But
Yes.
could we then get either a Soarin', a Living with the Land, or a Figment?
Absolutely. Yep. All
Because
three, all
Soarin'
three
would
of
crush.
those. So
You
all
know,
3 of those are available for pre-booking. Now, I will say that there is a limited amount of time slots available for those pre-booking. So if you are someone that you are going, because I think DAS you can do 30 days in advance, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. So if you do it that day, your chances are better for getting those times available that you want. But for example, if you wait and you do it like the week before, in this particular itinerary's case, they may not have morning times available.
but
So
can you
you
get
may
like
be
an
out of luck.
afternoon? Can you get like an afternoon time for that?
You can, but because this particular instance, they're park hopping to studios and you cannot book for a park you're hopping to, it
Oh,
has to
okay.
be a park
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
booking. Does that make sense? So it has to
Yeah,
be the
because I
park
was
that you
gonna
have your
say, like, why
reservation
not just
for.
book like a Soarin' and a Toy Story Mania or a
Right.
Runaway
And you can't.
Railway
They
to
won't.
they won't do that. So you have to be
No, they
different.
won't let
Why
you
are
do
we
that because
starting
I've
in
asked
Epcot
before.
again? Just kidding. It's probably for food. We're going for food
Yes.
and wine. I know what we're
Yes.
doing.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So yes, so depending on if you've pre-booked something or if you've gone through that process, that may adjust your itinerary. I'm going to go into this saying we haven't booked anything. We're kind of starting from the beginning because I feel like that's just easier than trying to say, well, they could have this or they could have that. That's just too many variables. So looking at that list, what I would suggest doing is using your Genie Plus to book your Remy time as your first ride. And then when you tap into the park is when you will be eligible to book your first DAS ride. So you have to have all members of your party tapped into the park to be able to book a same day DAS time. And the way that DAS works, in case anybody is new to that and doesn't know, is it gives you the ability to wait somewhere other than in the line. So it is strictly for people who cannot physically wait in lines, but it has to be more than just a mobility issue. If you're someone who needs a wheelchair, you can take that in, I'd say 95% of the queues at Disney World. So it's not just a mobility issue. It is another reason why you cannot physically wait in a line. So the DAS allows you to wait somewhere other than in a queue line, and then you return at your time. You will still wait the allotted wait time. So let's say you tap into the park and Soarin' is a 30-minute wait, which first thing in the morning, not usually that long, but let's just pretend. Your return time for your DAS window will start in typically 25 minutes. They give you like a 5-minute leeway with the wait time. So that's what I would say is book Remy with your Genie Plus, and then you would DAS your a time for Soarin' to start. If you're really good and your Remy time is early, then you can kind of manipulate the direction that you go in the park, because you also have Living with the Land on your list. And Soarin' and Living with the Land, if you remember, are both in the same building. So you don't want to do Soarin' first, then go all the way back to Remy and come back to Living with the Land. So you can kind of manipulate your times based on location in the park, because Epcot is really easy to backtrack if you've got Remy in your plans.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion, I'm doing double Remy. I'm doing early entry. I'm going right through the International Gateway. I'm assuming we're staying on property. Could be, yes, we are staying on property. It says that up there. So we're staying on property. We're going through the International Gateway. Let's say that Epcot opens at 9, so we can enter at 8:30. So we're lining up somewhere around 8:15. We go right to Remy. We get on Remy, and then our lightning lane shows up right at 9. We're hitting Remy again. Boom, boom.
Absolutely.
And then probably if you have your DAS already set up, you set one up for Soarin', then you can rock right to Living with the Lands. Then you hit your Figment, and then your 3 cabs, and you're done. You can just enjoy food and wine and start stacking studios once you racked through your Soarin'.
Exactly. And if you need to use your Genie Plus for something like Living with the Land or Figment, if for some reason those waits are really long for, the ride had a delayed open or it got backed up or whatever, those typically don't have those wait times. But if they do, you've got your Genie Plus available to do one of those probably. Would be all that you would need. So that only really gives the need to book 2 Genie Plus rides and use your DAS for 1. And the other thing is too, if you're planning on doing food and wine, which I know this particular group is, you can easily use DAS for those other rides and just circle your way back around. DAS is more flexible than Genie Plus. You cannot be early to your time, but they will accommodate you from what I've seen and what I've experienced if you are later than your hour window that they give you for your return time.
Yeah, and there's no blockouts too. So like normally what I would say to somebody who isn't using DAS too, I see Rise is on this list. Rise I would probably contemplate purchasing an individual lightning lane for, but because they have a DAS pass, even if it's a 90-minute wait for Rise, if you get there, put your name in, it's probably closer to a 65, 70-minute return time. And they can still be using Genie Plus and low weights on all the other attractions once we park hop. Probably be after 147, because I assume these people are going to be enjoying the World Showcase for a little bit.
Yes. Yes. So very easy to get through those rides in the morning. And just like Kirk said, enjoy kind of the food and wine offerings and those types of things. There's tons to do in World Showcase. If you're someone that's like, I just want to enjoy the atmosphere of Epcot, there's so much to see. There's tons of shows. There's tons of live performances that they do in all of the country. So definitely tons to do to fill that time until you're able to park hop at 147.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, you're going to get on so many rides very easily if you want to. There's a lot of access and ability. And then once you get to studios, your biggest thing, honestly, I would go right to Galaxy's Edge, because you never know when Rise is going to close indefinitely. And even if you get a DAS for it, a return time, and it does close, it will become open-ended, so you can return whenever. So if it does reopen, it won't stress you out, because you can start booking. Not only, you'll already be booking your Genie Plus attractions, which... you're probably your toughest one. I know this is crazy. Is probably Smuggler's Run. That one, because families like to do it together. So usually it eats up 4s and 6s a lot, like larger groups, because they all want to do the attraction together. There's no other reason, because it's not like the attraction is like the most popular attraction. It just so happens that you kind of like play this game together in the flight simulation. So I would say probably Smugglers, then Rock and Roller Coaster, then Runaway Railway, then Toy Story Mania. Star Tours, you will have 0 issues. Beauty and the Beast, you just have to make sure you get to I think 5 p.m. is the last one.
That sounds right.
Otherwise you can miss out on that. And then your Frozen, I believe the last one is either 6 or 7 p.m. So we just got to make sure we don't miss that. Muppets is easy, and Fantasmic. If you're going with a group, it's now starts at 8:30, which may change because we've seen some dates now have 2 time slots. So you just really
it's
have
like
to be on top of it.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays for the next 3 weeks. But that's it. Because after the next
So
3 weeks, it
strange.
goes back to one per night. Because I just happened to be looking because I saw someone mention that, oh, there was a second showtime on this night. And I was like, what do you mean there's a second
When's the
showtime?
second showtime starting up? Like in terms of like when's that time one? Is there an 8:30 and a
It's
10? Is there an
no,
8?
it's
What
an
is it?
8 and a 9:30, I think.
Oh, that's a gorgeous. Oh, what a time to
But
be
it's
alive.
but
If you're a
it's Tuesday,
Fantasmic fan, I
Thursday.
know it doesn't help me.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
doesn't help
but,
you.
but for everybody else, like this is amazing. Like you're
Yeah.
fantastic. First of all, the park Hollywood Studios closes at 9, which means we can run up the clock all the way to 9 and still make Fantasmic at 9:30, which will be dead because
Yeah.
everyone will go at 8, which also means that from like 7:45 all the way until 9, there are no lines anywhere
Yep.
because everyone's going to Fantasmic if they have young kids for the 8 o'clock show, and then they're leaving at 8:30. Most of them aren't going into attractions. If they are, it's probably Tower and Runaway get
Right.
smoked. Everything that's further in the back of the park, they're not.
not gonna-
You think
yeah.
you're gonna walk to Smuggies? Get real. They're not doing that. So do you know
Right.
what I
And I
mean?
will say, I know that this group does have an Oga's reservation at 9 p.m. that night. So they know that they'll be late going into Fantasmic and probably getting those back seats. So they're aware of all of that, but they do have a 9
you know what?
p.m.
I don't.
Oga's.
I still think they'll be okay. They'll probably be rushing their beverage, although I would suggest them to try to check into Oga's 20 minutes early because they more than likely will be able to get in, or even just try to bump your Oga's to 8:30 just so you can breathe a little bit and not stress about having to race over to Fantasmic. But if you check in 20 minutes early to Oga's, more than likely they will accommodate your group depending on your size. The smaller the group,
Right.
the easier it is to accommodate. The larger your group, the more challenging it is. But
Right.
yeah.
And typically we see a lot of those late night Oga's reservations for people that want kind of the emptiness of Galaxy's
Yeah.
Edge or that type of thing. But trying to do Oga's and Fantasmic kind of defeats that, honestly. So like if you've got that 9 o'clock, pushing it up to like an 8:30 is going to give you even that much more wiggle room to be able to go and enjoy the show. If that's what you choose to do. If you're like, I don't really care if we get to see Fantasmic, I just want to go to Oga's, different story. So, it just really depends on personal preference with that.
Yeah, I've almost had zero problems getting in early. I am because most people are late to their reservations, and especially Oga's because it's more of a bar and it's not like a meal. Most people are like, oh, we'll get there, it's fine. But
Right.
honestly, just go early, and then you'll catch the 9:30 Fantasmic, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah. I had a couple people in my chat asking, so there are select dates that Fantasmic has a second showing. It's not a blanket every single day, and it only lasts for the next 3 weeks from what I've been able to see on the Disney website. So you
It's a
can,
shame. I wish
yeah.
it was on Mondays. I would go to Fantasmic every single night if it was
So
Mondays.
you can check the way that you check that if you're not sure. You can't actually check it on the app because the app doesn't let you look at future times. But if you go to the Disney World website and just in the search bar, I just type in Fantasmic, you can click on that. And from there, you can adjust your dates and see the show times. They typically will do it about 2 months out. Sometimes it's less. It just depends on the time of year. So I did that earlier this week when I saw that someone had posted about that. And I was like, well, now I'm going to go see. So I literally clicked through every date from now until it stopped doing that.
This is a normal thing to do, everyone.
You know why I did it? Because I messaged Ellie about it. That's why I did it.
No, dude, honestly, I appreciate and applaud the efforts because now I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't know unless
so-
you did the legwork.
Right. So it is good news that maybe this is something they will continue when when they have these weird times. I also did happen to see that in November for Jollywood nights, they are doing a 7:15 Fantasmic for park guests. Like
That's a weird time.
Yeah. So previously when they've done like for example at Magic Kingdom when they have those parties, they don't do Happily Ever After. The normal day guests don't have a nighttime show. But
Well,
for
Doesn't that make sense though, with the fact that HEA is such an expensive production, and
Yeah.
they have to do the fireworks show, so like setting that for Mickey's Not So Scary versus like Phantasmic is not that many fireworks. It's not.
Right.
It's more mainly a water show, stage show
Right.
with lighting. So that that's it. I never thought of that. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Huh.
they're doing like a 7:15. And then from what we've read about Jollywood, which we don't know yet because it hasn't happened, but that Jollywood is supposed to have a Phantasmic showing during the party hours as well. So they'll
They
have
also
two.
are going to have a Muppets fireworks show that takes place on a cruise line that it's free for everybody, and it takes you to the Bahamas afterwards. So get your
Oh,
Jollywood tickets.
fascinating.
If that is true, don't listen. I mean, are they doing a Muppet show? Isn't there like a Muppet
Yes,
thing?
there's supposed to be a Muppets hosted show, I believe, in the Beauty and the Beast theater.
Oh, that's whoever's streaming that, I'm watching.
Kate is going. I'm also going. So
Okay, well,
Muppets, we'll be there. So you'll see it from probably both of us, if I'm being
that's
completely
awesome.
honest. Yeah.
I love what's your channel name? Rubitin.com? Okay. I'll make
You
sure to
made a
subscribe.
choice, Kirk.
I
You made a
did
choice.
make it. I did make it. I made a spooky choice. I
You
still
did.
stand by
Yes.
my choice. But yeah, Muppets is
Yeah.
that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Did they
So,
sell out all the Jollywoods? Are they
the
all done?
last time I looked a couple weeks ago, the first night is sold out, but the
Yeah.
other nights were not. But that was a couple
I think
weeks
everybody's
ago, so
waiting. Everybody's like, is
they
it
wanna
worth it?
see. Yep. Yep. I know that Kate and I know our good friend Mark from Dis Life is going. They're both going to be there the first night. So we will see what they have to report back.
What is this? Do I have to go look at oneupper.com as well? Like what am I watching here?
You made a choice, Kirk. You made a choice.
Listen, if I would have realized how Mr. First Culture I've become, I should have booked that immediately. Sad.
Opportunity missed.
Sad
There's only 10
reality.
dates, so get your ticket
Yeah.
now. No.
Yeah, maybe I'll go. I'll go the first day. Somebody will cancel.
Yeah, good luck with that. If it's anything like Not So Scary day of tickets, you might be out of luck.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, you never know. Okay, so
How do we feel about this first trip? Do we feel like we've tackled it, or do we feel like we failed?
I think for the most part. So let's just review studios again, just to make sure that we kind of got that list tackled down. So when you check into studios, we're suggesting to get a DAS return time for Rise. That will avoid the need to purchase an individual lightning lane, which I believe for Rise is $20 per person. So that's kind of a nice little bonus. Obviously, the DAS pass is something that you have for a reason. So, that is what it is. But yeah, hitting those rides back in Galaxy's Edge, kind of heading back that way to see what the wait times look like there. The other things that you can do is, because this is two adults that are doing Smuggler's Run, you could very well wait in line together in the single rider line if you chose to. So that would be an option that you could do if you don't want to do the standby or don't want to use Genie Plus on it. That is an option that you have. And then heading to, what did you say after that?
I said we get our Rise. We've already stacked our Smuggies. You can go on Star Tours anytime. It does not matter. I would probably get a Rockin' and then a Runaway. But in the middle of that, we probably have to go to Beauty and the Beast before it closes down, like do the 5 o'clock. And then after maybe your Rockin' or your Runaway, you hit your Frozen sing-along. And then from there, you're pretty gorgeous to hit your Muppets / Star Tours and then hit Oga's and then Phantasmic and you outie.
Yeah. And you would have the ability also for either Runaway Railway or Rock and Roller Coaster to use your DAS, because at that point in time, you would have used your one for Rise of the Resistance. So once you use that one, you would be eligible to book a second or an additional one after that. So that is something that you can play with times as well, depending on how much walking you're wanting to do and depending on where in the parks you are. If you're grabbing a snack or if you're, if you're headed to Beauty and the Beast and you want to make sure that your Rock and Roller Coaster time is close to that, those types of things are all things that you want to take into consideration so that you're not backtracking back and forth kind of up and down Sunset Boulevard.
Bring comfortable shoes because you're going to be running.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is with that.
It's a Disney trip. This ain't a pleasure cruise. This is like we got stuff to do, and this is the best way to do it.
Right, exactly.
All right, we're done that thing. Wait, what was the saying? I forget.
I don't know.
Let's tackle that itinerary. Trip number 2, first week of December, staying on property. Yes, using Genie Plus. Yes, using DAS. We've got 2 adults, but also a kiddo requiring an afternoon break. This is a 2-day itinerary. We're going to focus on each day individually. And we are looking again, first week of December, first day, Magic Kingdom. The attractions are People Mover, Speedway, Winnie the Pooh, Little Mermaid, Peter Pan, PhilharMagic, Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise, Pirates, Buzz, Swiss Family, and Tom Sawyer. They have some food in here. They're all quick services, so easy peasy, but we can give you some suggestions for a very picky kiddo. So I think we tackle the attractions first. This is easy. This is like, I could do this in my sleep. Let's go. We ready? Right,
We're ready.
hang on, ready?
So,
Hang on. We got to do, what's the number? I'm going to forget the DAS like pre-booking because you can apply all this stuff to your Genie Plus. But let's, on the count of 3, I want you look at the list.
okay.
I want you to look at the list. And on the count of 3, I want you to say, as I say, the very first attraction they should book.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, Jungle Cruise.
See?
It's true. And
Yes.
Jungle Cruise, for most people, you don't really realize this, is you have like a big change of the scenery there. So it's been plussed. It also has a horrendous ride capacity. And so as a result, there's not a lot of booking windows for Lightning Lane. So as soon as that opens up at 7 a.m., that number shoots to like 3 p.m.
Yes.
And then if you have to book a Genie Plus at 3 p.m., you are waiting a 3-hour gap in the morning. And now you can hustle with your early entry and get a lot done. You can, I mean, obviously, as soon as 9 o'clock opens, if you couldn't get a Jungle Cruise, you could boogie on right there and walk right on. So that's acceptable. And I'm okay with people who chose Peter Pan as well. Peter Pan is perfectly acceptable. However, once we get on our jungle, we can immediately book a Peter Pan, or you could do the reflexive and do a early entry, go right to Peter Pan, because Peter Pan takes like 4 seconds to ride. So just ride in 4 seconds and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would do. I hate suggesting to rope drop Peter Pan because so many people do it. But with this itinerary, it really makes sense to rope drop Peter Pan.
I don't think people do it as much as you think. I think everyone's going to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Space Mountain. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. I never see that many people going far left. And you got to remember, Peter Pan is a hall from where they enter you in. You enter into the right side of the castle, which means, this is like so messed up. This means that if you're faster than strollers and things, you can get to Peter Pan before any of those people even wake up. This is the natural progression. All the adults and like thrill ride kiddos, they go to Tomorrowland, they go to Space Mountain. Everyone else gets filtered in by Cheshire Cat Cafe and Cosmic Rays. Directly in front of you is the Mad Tea Party. Everyone goes directly to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. A few get upset that Seven Dwarfs is really packed and they go to Winnie the Pooh, which jacks that line. And then the rest are going to Peter Pan, but you're going to be faster than them.
Because you're just going to know.
It's 2 adults and a kiddo. We got this. Just grab the kid and run. Sorry, walk with purpose.
There is no running in Magic Kingdom.
I said walk with purpose. I changed it.
And Chris made a good point. He said they can also try and book a DAS pre-arrival for Peter Pan, or when
Can
you
you
tap
do that?
in.
I thought that would be like an e-ticket, no dice.
Let me double check.
I
'cause
swear, I would
don't
think that Peter Pan would be good.
remember. Peter Pan is eligible for pre-booking for Magic Kingdom.
Wow, what? That is a horse of a different color.
Magic Kingdom has pretty much everything is included. I'm looking here.
This is a very easy Magic Kingdom day then. If you could dash your Peter Pan or use early entry to Peter Pan.
Right.
And then even after your Peter Pan, we don't have anything that's too close that you could go on. I would probably go and do maybe Little Mermaid and then walk over and rope drop Haunted Mansion. But at that point, we can start booking other attractions as well, or hit Jungle Cruise and probably walk directly onto Pirates after that.
Yeah.
Buzz you can get anytime. It's really a question of like how many of those rides do they want to ride multiple times, because you could easily get at any point Speedway, Pooh, Little Mermaid, Pirates, and Buzz at any point. Super easy, right
Yeah.
immediately then. Like that, this is a gravy itinerary. We need
Yeah.
to
And
pump these numbers up. Can you see the
the
list? Yeah, yeah, I got you on a visual.
but I would agree. I would say rope drop Peter Pan, and then from there do either Mermaid or Pooh if you're lucky, if Pooh doesn't have a super long
No,
line.
you know Pooh is going to be 35, 40
It depends
minutes.
on how quickly you get through Peter Pan. If you
That's
get through Peter
true.
Pan fast enough, if you're, like you said, if you walk
It's
with
like a three
purpose and you
minute.
beat
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those people, you could get in line for Pooh before people disgruntledly get
Well,
out of
here's the
line
trick.
for
Here's
from
here's the trick with
Seven
Pooh.
Dwarfs.
If you, because Winnie the Pooh, the entire queue is exposed minus the part that's behind the Pooh honey wall. So if the line goes all the way past the garden, all the way past the little bees section, ignore whatever the wait time is and get in that line. It's less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Especially because during early entry, you don't have lightning lanes. So there's nothing that's going to stop that standby queue from consistently moving.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's only really spillover of people who aren't going on Seven Dwarves or got annoyed that the Seven Dwarves line got huge.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. They're going to wait in that line for maybe 5 minutes before they fully decide to bail. So if you can get to Peter Pan and then go to Pooh, and I would suggest parking your, if you've got a stroller, I would suggest parking your stroller in one of two places. You can put it by Pooh in the stroller parking there. There is stroller parking like right around Seven Dwarves. There's stroller parking there. There's stroller parking right outside of Mad
I'm
Tea
a
Party that's sort of close, but I would go
I'm a
towards the
carousel.
carousel. I would go towards the carousel.
Yeah, carousel has like 3 rows of dumping, and you could easily put your stroller right there and jam. And now it becomes like a central hub for you. So like if you spoke off to Peter Pan, come back, you could grab it if you needed to get to Mermaid, come back. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's a good spot.
Yeah, and I would if you're able to, I would leave it there. I would do Peter, I would do Pooh, I would do Mermaid, and then I would grab it and go towards Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Would be my suggestion with that. And then once you hit Haunted Mansion, then you'll be able to, at that point in time, you can look at your DAS availability. You can then,
Do your Jungle
lightning,
Cruise,
your lightning
Genie
lane for
Plus.
Jungle
Yep.
Cruise would hopefully be within that 9 o'clock hour if you're quick and you're on it and you have taken all of our tips and tricks from Kirk and from Mom Street to be able to utilize that as quickly as possible. And from there, we've literally already hit half of your itinerary. And
Yep.
and that's like by 9:30 at the latest.
Now, I will tell you, I learned this tip from Kate, and it is invaluable. Your internet speed matters when you're booking your Genie Plus. I know because if I have to book them and I'm in a place that has like 80 megabits per second to 120, I have a harder chance of getting really good boarding groups than when I have over 280 megabits per second. And how do you test, Kirk? Oh, great question, said no one. Just type in like internet speed test into Google, and Google has one, and you just click it, and it'll show you your upload speed and your download speed. So as long as it's over 250, 275, you're at a really good spot with your internet to be able to change. So to like get those really, really good queues. That's how I got boarding group or virtual queue 3 spot for the shopping event.
Yeah.
The AP
Yeah,
shopping
it makes
event.
a huge
I was
difference.
like, dude, I'm all like, this is a joke. This is like, I'm already a fast person, but like
Right.
now with good internet, it's like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will make a difference when you're going to book in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not doing virtual queues, it makes a difference for how quickly your times at 7 a.m. will load. So if you're trying to get a Jungle Cruise within that 9 o'clock hour or whatever the first hour of the park being open is, it makes a huge difference.
I want to add another clarifier about the internet question because we're having like a couple of questions like, what if you're already in the parks? What if I'm on Wi-Fi? These are great, good questions. What if you're on property and you're in your hotel room? Should I use hotel internet? Should I use my cell phone's internet? Should I use this service provider, another service provider? Try them all before 7 a.m. So try with Wi-Fi on, see how your download speed is. turn Wi-Fi off and just use your cell phone service. See what your download speed is. Whichever
Yep.
one's faster, use that. When you're in the parks, same thing. Try just service only. Try with their Wi-Fi. Now, I will tell you, and I shouldn't be telling you this, but in front of Little Mermaid has the fastest internet speed ever in Magic Kingdom, and we've used that to get a Tron boarding group more than once. So that is a fun fact. If you're using Disney Wi-Fi, in front of Ariel is the fastest internet that I've ever seen on the planet Earth. I don't
Which
know.
is
It's just,
the most random. Because like what's over there? A DVC booth?
well,
like-
they do run internet cables under the sea, so it makes sense that she just is like tapped in. She's right there.
Yeah, she's
So.
paying for that upgraded speed, man.
Yep, that's true.
So basically that takes care of everything that was on this particular list for
yeah, I just-
Fantasyland.
Just
And
a
then-
caveat, because there
Yeah.
are a couple things like Filler Magic. That's an anytime. You
Mm-hmm.
can book a lightning lane for that if you have some availability. But you're only doing Magic Kingdom for this day, so that makes it super easy. Buzz Lightyear, again, no problems there. Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, there's never a line, no problems there. Tom Sawyer does have very specific hours. I think it opens at either like 10 or 11, and then it closes by like 5.
Yeah.
So just like be on time and leave on time for Tom Sawyer Island. I would not go early. I would probably save it for, you need an afternoon break, so you're probably going to have to get there before noon on this one. So that you can go and have fun, and then you can go have your lunch and then go kick it at the hotel and then come back.
Yeah. So what I would suggest, knowing this particular group of people that's going, is so we hit all of Fantasyland, we hit Haunted Mansion, we hit Jungle Cruise. The other thing that we have over on that side of the park on this list is Pirates. So I would piggyback maybe either the Treehouse or Tom Sawyer Island with Pirates and kind of do those right after Jungle Cruise, because doing either Tom Sawyer Island or the Treehouse is going to give this particular kiddo a chance to breathe away from those crowds, which I think will be needed in this instance. So that would be my suggestion for that part. Just like I said, because I know who this is and I know what their particular needs are, I would do that. And then,
which that's like a good baseline thing too, is like know your family and don't really push yourself outside of the norm of what your family does. It really does help if you keep like somewhat of a normal schedule, even though you know you're going to push yourself with a little less water, a little less food, a little less sleep. Like we know those things are going to happen, but try to control some of your time.
Yeah. So then I would say after Pirates, then you kind of have some options depending on what time of the day it is. You can cut straight across the hub and go over to Tomorrowland and do like People Mover Speedway before it gets too hot, because that's the one thing about Speedway is it can get very, very warm in the afternoon.
Yeah, but time out,
it's
dude.
completely open.
It's December. It's December, dude. We ain't cooking. We chilling.
Listen,
We chilling. Look at the time period.
most of the time.
It's good. Yeah, it's not for this one. Dude, it's getting cold here. It's 70 and I hate myself. It's awful. It's the worst. I hate it. It's awful.
And this is why you moved from New Jersey to Florida. One of the many reasons.
Dude, it was really funny. Mel said the other day, she was like, "Oh my gosh, it was so perfect today." And I was like, "Yeah, I hated it because I know what's coming." Like, it's really, this is like how my mind thinks. I go, wow, I'm super comfortable. And it was like a gorgeous day. I wasn't sweating that much. Oh God, that means like freezing cold weather is coming. And like jeans,
ugh, blasphemy.
ugh, jeans, socks with Crocs. Ugh, you puddle of yuck. Hoodies, worse, beanies. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is my nightmare. I hate that. Sometimes I have to wear a jacket. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway,
How will you go on?
I won't. I'll go somewhere hotter. I'll move to Argentina for a couple months. Do they have any theme parks in Buenos Aires? They probably do.
Probably. That would be an interesting research topic.
All right.
Anyway.
Do we feel good on the rides? Because I feel like we've beat them pretty.
Yeah, I mean, the
much
only
so
thing
far.
that we didn't specifically state would be that we've got People Mover, Tomorrowland Speedway, and Buzz Lightyear on there still left over. So that would just be whenever you choose to head over towards Tomorrowland, that would be your choice. But
Do
if
'em
it's
whenever.
Exactly. But if it's to the point where you finish all of that, you get done with Pirates and you're like, oh, we need food. Great. Go get your food. If you want to take an earlier break and come back a little earlier, you have that flexibility with this itinerary that's planned.
Do you
If you
do you
find
want to
that you,
do food now?
yeah, sure.
Because
I was just
we
going to
have
say,
food.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, if you find that your family is not moving as quickly as we just stated, you still have plenty of time that you're still going to be able to get through everything that we just stated between Genie Plus and DAS before lunchtime
I've
very
got a
easily.
suggestion. Move faster and stop complaining. This is a Disney park day. We don't have time to complain. We don't cry. We
Wow.
don't, no. Take your
Wow.
do the right things. Dude, you see how it's like the most
I
grueling. I
I'm
literally
aware.
run Oregon Trail, grueling pace, bare bones sustenance. You're lucky I packed enough food and oxen just in case we break a yoke on the way, I got things to fix. I'm caulking the wagon too. I'm not fording the river. If anybody was from the 90s, you understand what that is. If you don't, I'm sorry you never got the blessing of playing
I'm
Oregon
sad for
Trail.
you. I'm
Yeah,
very sad
it's a
for you.
sad thing. So, Google
Yes,
it.
let's talk about food. So this particular family, their kiddo is very picky and is definitely going to need a place that's got some good fries for them. So looking at some of the options that they were thinking, the initial list that they threw out was Gaston's, Cosmic Rays, Casey's, Pecos Bills, and Sleepy Hollow. So Kirk, what are your suggestions for food for them?
Picky kids who need fries need to go to, I would say, Cosmic Rays, because it has the most basic options. Gaston's, you ain't getting fries. Casey's, you'll get fries with corn dog nuggets, but those kids have to love hot dogs. If they don't, you're beat. Pecos is for more explorative flavors because there's Nutella, there's waffles, there's spicy chicken sandwich. You ain't going to Sleepy Hollow with a picky kid. Sorry, I misspoke. I was looking at Sleepy Hollow, but I
Yeah.
said the word Pecos.
Pecos is
Flip
your
this. Pecos
tacos
is
and all
your,
that.
yeah, tacos Mexican. I think Cosmic Rays is your best. It's underrated
Yeah.
too. They have lots of chicken fingers, your French fries. They've got some hamburgers, those kind of things. It's very approachable.
Yeah.
And it's also the most popular of all of the quick service for a reason because it seats a lot. It's inside, has its own bathroom, has fuel rods, has two water refill locations. You have Sunny Eclipse to keep the kiddos and yourselves entertained. Cosmic Rays is the answer to all your woes. Maybe Casey's, but I don't recommend it unless they love corn dogs or big hot dogs.
Well, and the big difference is that Casey's has extremely limited indoor seating. So
Oh,
being
it's the
able to be,
worst.
right,
Yeah, you're gonna
being
have to
able to
sit in
be
the
in,
hub. Just get over
yeah,
that. Like you
right.
don't get a seat
So
at
if you want to
Casey's.
be inside, like Cosmic Rays is the way to go. But also do keep in mind if you've got a kiddo that, and I know this particular kiddo may not enjoy our good friend Sunny Eclipse that sits in Cosmic Rays, just be aware of where you're sitting because their down front kind of area is right where he is. There is some seating kind of up and around, if I'm remembering correctly. I always sit
There
where
is, yeah.
Sunny
It's
is, and I can't
so
remember.
like there's a floor level and then there's like
Yeah.
a crescent secondary seating that sits elevated above that. So like
Yeah.
kind of think like balcony seating for them. And then inside the restaurant itself, there's seating all over the place, minus the two areas where they're serving food. And then outside, wrapped around everywhere, that's covered. So if it is raining, it is covered there as well, but it is
Yes.
outside, so you won't get AC. There's so much seating for
Yeah.
Cosmics.
Yeah, so
So
just keep that in mind if you're looking for a quieter place. I don't know if outside is the problem with outside is you're right across from Speedway. So depending on that too, you just may have to gauge it when you walk in and kind of figure out where the best where the best place is for you to sit.
I'm smelling the exhaust,
Right.
and you will have to scream at each other because
Yeah.
it's going to be very loud as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Cosmic is the place to be. If I was going to say where would I go for actual food, I would go to Gaston's based on your list, or Sleepy Hollow because I think they have more explorative, delicious menus.
Right.
But for the kiddo, Cosmic Rays. For the adults, Gaston's or Sleepy Hollow. You can't go wrong with a cinnamon bun or the ham and cheese sandwich at Gaston's.
Yeah.
And at Sleepy Hollow, you can't go wrong with Nutella waffle with fruit or the spicy chicken sandwich. All are
Yeah.
great. They also have a corn dog there that people like.
I didn't know that.
They have a corn dog, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
some
and
people have said it's better than Corn Dog Castle over in DCA in Disneyland,
oh,
which is like
interesting.
that's like fighting words,
Yeah.
fisticuffs.
Well, and Gaston's is not too terribly far away. That depending on if you can divide and conquer, you could send one adult to Gaston's while the kiddo and the other adult stay at Cosmic Rays if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Because Cosmic Rays you can mobile order, Gaston's you cannot. So you're going to have to
Yep.
plan accordingly for timing with that. That depending on the time of day that you go, the line may or may not be in your favor.
Yeah, Gaston's in the morning because it's like one of the few breakfast options out there besides Friars.
Right.
Everyone goes there for breakfast. So there was a question in here. Michael was asking, does time of the year or weather impact your decision-making process? The only thing I would say is, for most cases, no, because most e-tickets are the e-tickets, and you're always going to go to the most popular attractions first. That should always. There's kind of like some cardinal rules here. Be early. Second rule, be early. Third rule, be early. Because so many people break that rule. They break it all the time. Like, oh, we slept in. Oh, we couldn't figure it out. We didn't know how to do transportation. It's all excuses. You can learn this stuff ahead of time and just you can wake up a little bit earlier. I know it stinks. Nobody wants to do it. But guess what? Early bird gets on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So
It's true.
and then the next thing is the only time that I notice that things somewhat get a little bit messed up would be like water attractions. Nobody wants to go on water attractions if it's freezing cold out. So like those things are usually dead during those colder time periods. Like Splash, honestly, it's such an e-ticket, but as long as it wasn't getting a refurb like a January, February into March, like your December and your late March / reopen April times were always slow for Splash because people were like, oh, it's so cold. I'm not going on Splash. I'm like, let's go again. I mean, Tiana will change all that just because of the type of attraction and that it's a thing and it'll be a virtual queue and all that good stuff. But that's, like Cali River Rapids. Go in December. There's nobody there. It's a ghost town.
But be prepared to be freezing once you get wet.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Well, and I will say that's the thing. Like, the only thing that I feel like time of year drastically affects is just how quickly you get your list done. This list is going to get done regardless of the time of year. You could go the week of Christmas and still, with Genie Plus and DAS, get this list done fairly
I feel
easily.
like trip 1 and trip 2 day 1 are very doable asks.
Yeah. And so it's really just going to depend. If you do this and it's super slow, you're going to get most of this done before 1 p.m. If you do this during a super busy week, it may not be until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. that you get every single thing done on this list. But regardless, it's still going to get done. So time of year, that's really the biggest thing that it affects. But when you've got a reasonable list like this one is, there's no reason for you not to get it done.
It's also really tough to judge how crowded things are going to be. We know certain truths. Holidays, school closure days, run Disney events are always going to be busy, right? Like those are the certainties. The things that are uncertain is if Disney decides to push a bunch of discounts to get different markets and demos here.
Right.
September usually is typically slow. It has not been slow at all in September. In fact, like when the Wall Street Journal article came out saying that Disney is down, Disney changed all that in a heartbeat by opening up 40-50% off. Food included, all these different discounts because they'd rather get some business than no business.
Right.
So they're like September used to always be dead. It's not. I think I got 2 days of slowness, and one of them was a Mickey's Not So Scary. So
right. Well, and they just released a bunch of new discounts for right after the new year too. So like,
so think about that they already think that
planning.
January is going to be slow based on booking. Like they look in advance. Disney will look in advance to see what their booking levels are, and if they need to, they have a faucet that can either add more or reduce. And you add more by reducing the price, and you reduce the amount of people coming by increasing price. That's why they have fluctuating pricing and whatnot. So
right. Exactly. So that's pretty much day 1. Should have no issue with that.
We beat that itinerary.
Let's look at their day 2.
Let's tackle that itinerary. I'm making this happen.
So their day 2, I will come out and say I do not think they need Genie Plus for their day 2. They are at Animal Kingdom. Kirk
Yeah,
is showing their
yeah.
ride
Yep.
list there. They've got their DAS set up. They've possibly pre-booked some of these. If not, then I still think getting all of that done on a day in Animal Kingdom with a DAS is completely doable.
Yeah, you don't need lightning lane here. You're
Mm-mm.
gonna use your DAS to grab your flight of passage or use early entry for flight of passage.
Mm-hmm.
And then whichever one you don't use, or if you don't use early entry, um, it's the order of operations here is flight of passage, Navi River journey, and safari, and then the
Yep.
rest is a joke. You're good. You
Yeah.
got all the time in the world. The only thing to ever worry about here is Rafiki's Planet Watch,
Mm-hmm.
because the timing it does shut down. And if you wanted to do something like the petting zoo or the animation experience, you just have to make sure you time those out appropriately because it doesn't
Exactly.
open immediately as soon as the park is open. But
Mm-hmm.
the safari opens up pretty early. Did you notice that DAC was opening at 9? Super weird.
No, I hadn't seen
It
that.
will.
I
It
will.
Yeah. On Wednesday, it opened at 9. I was thinking it
Mm-hmm.
was going to open at 8, so I was going to rope drop it and
Mm-hmm.
like do a couple rides before hitting the 10
Yeah.
o'clock open for the garage sale thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, nope.
Nine o'clock.
It was 9 o'clock, which I have not seen from DAC, which means that we're getting to the off peak hours
Yeah.
now.
I will mention with the safari though, the majority of the time, the safari does not open for early entry. It will open at park open, and even then, it can be delayed. It's typically not delayed for longer than about 15, 20 minutes, but it does not open during early park entry. So
Yeah, that's why
definitely,
we want to live
yep,
in the Valley of Moara, aka Avatar Land.
yes.
So yeah, we want Flight of Passage and Navi River to be done
Hmm.
before we even hit the safari.
Yes. Yes,
You know, and then
exactly.
you still want to get into the safari hopefully before 9 o'clock while the animals are still up and about.
Hmm.
And if we can't do that and the safari is slammed and we don't want to wait or it's too hot or whatever, then we're going to do our safari closer towards 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
Because safaris early and safaris late are the win, or during rainstorms. Otherwise, the safari is very boring unless
Yeah.
you like looking at animals lying down
Or
because it's too
trees.
dang hot, you know?
Right, exactly, exactly. And the thing is too, you can manipulate your times because if the safari isn't where you want it to be or it's too long or whatever, then go and do some of those walking trails. You can hit Gorilla Falls, which is right at the exit of the safari. So you could do that if you plan on
Yeah, I'm
circling
a
back to
huge
the
fan.
safari.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of doing the safari and then going right into Gorilla
Yep.
Falls, only because the uh, the apes are very active in the morning, and a
Yeah.
lot of times they're up in the front viewing area window,
Hmm.
which just is so cool because
Yeah.
there's a lot in that troop. There's lots of babies and lots
Yeah.
of like adolescents, so it's awesome,
They're
and
super
that's
active.
you want to be there a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
There's no other good time because they're usually on the other side of the viewing angle, and you would kind of see them from afar. So
Yeah. And my rule of thumb with Animal Kingdom is always kind of working in a clockwise motion, starting in the bottom left of your map and working your way around the park. I think
oh
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what makes the most sense, regardless of if you're using lightning lanes or DAS or just planning on doing standby. Any of those options, I think that makes the most sense because then
yeah.
you
I,
get
I
those
never ever
long
go right
standbys.
and then around. I mean, if you did that, it would be because you just want to ride dinosaur forever.
Right.
You know, like there's I understand the thought process of rope dropping Everest.
Hmm.
Let me look at everyone here who's listening and watching on Mom Street. Never rope drop Everest. It's a crime. Like if by any chance you need to rope drop something else besides Flight of Passage, it's going to be Navi River Journey because its
Hmm.
capacity is extremely low and that queue is awful. It's just so boring and it takes forever and it's
Yep.
very hot because it's outside.
Yep.
Or you're going to go to the safari. Like those are your only options are
Yeah.
the two attractions in Avatar or you're going to the safari. Nothing else is acceptable in my book. Unless you're a big dinosaur fan and you're going to ride it all day, then I applaud you and hello. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And the thing about Everest is everyone assumes it's a big e-ticket. Everyone assumes the wait is going to get super, super long. It truly doesn't, because it's such a fast loading ride with such a high capacity that that line is rarely longer than 25 to 30 on really, really, really busy days. You're typically going to see it around
Yep.
15.
Yep.
So,
Cool. I feel
yeah.
like we're good for that part. I think we need to tackle food. Now, they have food on here again. They've picked the best locations. So if you want barbecue, Flame Tree is amazing. If you want more noodle dishes and like Pan Asian with like really good smoky flavors and grilled meats versus like smoked meats, head to Satuli Canteen. You can't go wrong with either of those places. I like the noodle bowls or the rice bowls. They're awesome at Satuli. Any of the proteins are good. The crispy tofu is delicious. The grilled beef is good. The chicken is good. There's like no bad options with lots of sauce flavors. It's not the best for kiddos. It's definitely a more explorative menu. Flame Tree at least has mac and cheese. But it is also lots of grilled meat. So like the kids menu option has like a turkey, or not a turkey, like a little like chicken leg. So it's
Yeah.
or like one rib. So it's not exactly the best for kiddos, but both are good. If you like barbecue, you go to Flame Tree. If you like more Asian with good proteins, you go to Satuli. And here's where I'm going to throw a curveball. Restaurantosaurus is kind of like your Cosmic Rays.
Yep.
Always has fries, always has like more pedestrian menu stuff. They have really weird hours though, so just look for that. The other thing is maybe you're bored of that and you don't want to get exactly specifically that. Then we can go and do our pasta thing and go over to, or pizza thing and go to Pizzafari. Those are
Yeah.
two like more easygoing for picky kids. Those are great options.
And I think a lot of people don't give Restaurantosaurus and Pizzafari enough credit. It's good park food. Like you're not going to find, 5-star pizza at Pizzafari, but for park pizza, it's a very acceptable option.
They have a chicken parm sandwich that's really good. So nobody talks about Pizzafari at all. They usually have a really good seasonal cupcake in there. They had this one. It was really freaky, but it was delicious. It was a spaghetti and meatballs cupcake on the top, but it was all made of icing, and it wasn't
Okay.
fondant. It was just like buttercream icing that was shaped, and it
Yeah.
was a delicious chocolate cupcake, which I think the inside was like raspberry. It was. I'm not a big fan of Disney cupcakes.
I was
They're
going to say,
usually
if
dry,
it
horrible
gets your
mess.
stamp of approval as a
The
cupcake, it must have
yeah,
been
it was
good.
a good one. It was a good one. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I would say too. And
Again,
like we
they have
said,
short hours too. Restaurantosaurus and Pizzafari have really short hours. I don't know why, but they both close at like 5 o'clock. So
Yeah.
if you're not there before, so like think about that for your dinner plans. You're fine for breakfast. There's plenty of breakfast options. You're fine for and breakfast options like if you go to like Harambe, Africa section of that park, there's lots of like pastries and cinnamon rolls and like little tiny picky things like that. There's even fruit if you want to be healthy, but I mean it's a
Yeah.
theme park. Like let's not go crazy.
Well, and I will suggest with Animal Kingdom, if you're planning on doing an afternoon break, if you can piggyback and grab dinner at your resort right before you come back to the park for the evening, maybe
Yeah.
an option too. If you branch out and do like a pizza or something like that for lunch, and your kiddo needs fries, your resort, I'm pretty sure all of the resorts have a French fry option of some sort in
Yeah,
their
like
food
even
courts.
even if you were at like a fancy place like Primo Piatto, they do their truffle fries, but I'm pretty sure you can
Right.
get them without
Plain.
any of that stuff.
I
Yeah.
would think so too, because Disney's so good about allergies that I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the majority of their stuff on their menu
Well, they have to
you can
toss
ask.
them in something. Do you know what I mean? Unless, yeah. Anyway, yeah. You're
Yeah,
right.
so
And also the
you
other
could
thing
do
too
that.
is this DAC day is so easy, and you can get, and it's usually open earlier that you can get so much of this accomplished. I would even think in your afternoon break, depending on where you're staying and how annoyed you want to be, you could maybe explore another resort for some food, and we could go down that rabbit hole at nauseum. But there's a lot of options to maybe
Yeah.
try something different if you've already been there for a couple of days or you already have a resort day. Like maybe try something else
Yeah.
on your way back or whatever.
And it depends on if your break needs to be like a true lay down in the room break, or if it just needs to be an out of the park away in a quieter space break. That may kind of differ you one way or the other depending on what the needs of your kiddo are at that
That's the
point.
beauty of having two adults. You send one adult to do all the grunt work and pick up all the goodies, and then the other one just chills on their phone while the kid's sleeping.
Yeah. See, it's perfect. That's also what we do. So when our kids need naps, it's like, yep, okay, we'll divide and conquer. One of us will run down to the food court while the
Yep.
kids are sleeping. The other one stays in the room. It's a beautiful thing when you can divide and conquer that way.
It's true.
But yeah, that Animal Kingdom day will be no problem to be able to get all of that done for sure.
Well, I think I need to say it. We beat that itinerary.
I didn't know we were going into this as a contest or like a it's like
No,
a
well,
game show.
I mean, like, they're honestly, it's. I feel gratified because like these things take a while to plan, and it's not easy to have this baseline knowledge. I mean, we have a lot we still have to go over. Like trip three, it's got multiple days, but there's not as many attractions. I think like you could basically skip day three almost because we kind of covered it in the very first itinerary, and kind of the same rules apply also for day two.
Yeah.
And there's only like one extra difference for Magic Kingdom. Like these rules that we use are pretty simple. Get early, pick the biggest e-ticket attractions, get through as much as possible earlier on in your day, and stack as many lightning lanes and return times as possible and get through it all so that you can have a more relaxed experience later on. If you're not using DAS, if you're not using Genie Plus, and you're just going, recognize this. Being early is the most important thing. Doing things in the first 2 hours is the most important thing. But you need to have a very specific plan on, I have 4 people in my family. What's your number one ride, your number one ride, your number one ride, your number one ride, and we do all of these. And if one of them's down or broken or weather delayed, we pivot to one of the others. Then if you make that list, there's none of this, well, we were supposed to go, they told us to go to Seven Dwarfs, but like, there's no dwarves. What do we do? You just go. You just do,
Yeah.
you pick the other one and you go to it. And you make that decision by triage of like, what is the next most important with the longest wait times. So
Yeah, and I
you
will
gotta
say,
be able to pivot.
if you're someone who's looking for just more generic advice on how to handle these, Kate and I have done one-day itineraries for all 6 of the US parks, including Disneyland. We've also done an entire extensive episode on Genie Plus and how to utilize that. And we've done episodes on the DAS Pass and what that looks like and how you go about doing that. So look back in those archives. If you can't find them, send me a message and I will get you those links to be able to guide you to that information. But these are more specific, but a lot of what we've already talked about in those episodes and a lot of what Kirk talks about daily on his live streams is all of this same information. So for those of you who've been around a while, you're like, yep, this sounds like exactly like what we hear you guys talk about every week. So
Yeah, I think the biggest frustration that people have, and again, this is just in life in general, is the uncontrollables. And I totally recognize and appreciate and understand that. But rides break, rain happens, lightning happens, crowd levels are larger than you anticipate. Any and all of your party, it just starts arguing with each other for whatever reason. Not enough sleep, not enough food, not enough liquids, not enough caffeine, whatever. Recognize that all those things are okay. Just take a breath, think about what's the next most important thing, and get after it.
and just pivot when you need to. Like
Yeah, it's okay to switch.
okay.
Like you just scream. This is what we do as a family. All right, this is too long. What are we doing? Pivot! And then we know we're going to the next thing because
Right.
we know that in a theme park, if you have a really strong that at any point you may have to deviate from that, but you have all of these alternatives already listed. That's why if you just like show up at the theme parks without any kind of clue, you're going to get run over by people who are ready and know what they're doing.
Yep. It's true. It's true. Okay, so let's look at trip 3 that we've got here. So this is the 3rd week of November, staying on property, utilizing
Oh,
Genie
the
Plus.
3rd week in November? Gross. Are we going during Thanksgiving?
Pretty close, I mean, yeah. And then 2 adults and 2 kids.
Woo!
So
It's equal fight, you know? It's always scary when they can gang up on you.
So they've got a Magic Kingdom day it's pretty much the majority of the rides you've got on there. Haunted Mansion, Pirates, Tiki Room, Small World, PhilharMagic, the Carousel, Little Mermaid, Pooh, Dumbo, Space Mountain, Tron, Buzz Lightyear, and People Mover. So it's going to sound similar, like Kirk mentioned, to what we talked about earlier, although this particular group is not using DAS, so they're going to have to be a little more mindful about how they book their Genie Plus, but you'll notice that Jungle Cruise is not on their list. So that immediately
Oh,
allows.
hang on. Ready? We got to play the game. Got to play the game.
Go for it.
Okay. You ready? Did you look at the list? You know what you got?
Oh.
I mean, now, reminder here, I'm going to take one out just so you don't say it. Tron, we're going to get a virtual
Right.
queue. We're going to have a
Yes.
virtual queue for Tron. So we have to get that no matter what. Anybody can get that. The virtual queues are free. Virtual queue also for Cosmic Rewinds, completely free. So if you're doing an Epcot day, it's silly not to get one. Same with Tron, it's silly not to get one at 7 a.m. And if you have to book lightning lanes at the same time, 2 different devices. Someone's on Tron, someone's on your first lightning lane. So I'll show it again in a second, Kyle, but hang on.
Here's the thing with this.
Don't do it. Don't put this nonsense out there. You just have to pick.
Oh.
All right, you ready?
No.
I know what you're hemming
don't.
and hawing about.
I know you do.
But we're staying on property. We're staying on
Yes.
property. Think about that.
Yes, but okay.
I mean, technically, what I would do is like so rogue, it's ridiculous. But you know what the answer is.
I know exactly what I would
think
do.
of how long. Think of how long, and how easy it is to get one versus the other. I know which two you're looking at. It's so much easier to get the other one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, ready? Which lightning
sure.
lane let's play? What lightning lane would you book? On the count of 3, we're both gonna say our answers. You ready?
I don't think we're going to be the same, but yes, I'm ready.
I know what you're gonna pick then. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Haunted Mansion.
Oh, we were the same.
Yeah, I'm not picking space. Space
No.
is so easy to get, but that's were you hemming and hawing between space and that?
I was looking, yeah, and I was thinking about, okay, I know that I'm going to tell them to rope drop Fantasyland. Which direction do I want to send them after?
Dude, what planet
Fantasyland?
are you on that you're rope dropping Fantasyland with this list? You're a crazy person. Seriously? You're gonna
Because
send
I
them.
would-
You're gonna. Where are you
Yes.
gonna send them to? Small World and the Carousel and
no,
Winnie the. You're gonna send them to Winnie the
I'm
Pooh.
going to send them
and
to
Dumbo.
Pooh.
Hey,
To
you're
Pooh.
This is. Don't listen to any of this. This is nonsense talk. This is where we don't agree. This is all right. I will stop talking. Let me listen to your plan, and I will give the correct plan.
Wow.
This is so wrong.
Wow.
You know this is not right.
I see. Okay.
All right, I'm not gonna say a word. Let's hear Fantasyland. I will
What-
show the itinerary so you can't see the disdain in my face. And here's
So
the
honestly,
list of,
if I'm being completely honest, I would have to, with this particular group, I would have to find out of the list that they gave me what their top 3 are, because that would, in all honesty, determine which direction I send them for rope drop. So if their top is something like Little Mermaid or Pooh, then that's going to have me send them to Fantasyland. If their top is Buzz and Space, then obviously I'm going to send them to Tomorrowland. So like Kirk was saying, with when you're picking those rides, that's going to determine more of what I would do. If it were me, because the Tomorrowland Genie Plus times are so much easier to get, and I know that I'm going to have to be trying to get these times back to back to back to back, because of the week that they're going, because of it being Thanksgiving, I would send them to Fantasyland to get that done and out of the way. And then I would have them go over tour and start using their Genie Plus and do Haunted Mansion, Pirates, and that side of the park. Kirk, do you have a rebuttal for my plan?
that is a great plan if you're going to Fantasyland first. Excellent. It's ridiculous. It's like, seriously. There's nothing in that list that you can't do after early entry happens. We're going to Space Mountain first here. It's actually, coincidentally, I used to think when I would rope drop, I never would go to space first. I would always think to do Fantasyland things. But if Space Mountain's really important, at 9 o'clock, like if you don't have early entry, Space Mountain's dead, like less than a 20-minute wait. And I always thought that was not the case, but everybody jams up Adventure, Frontier, because they're just opening. So they're going Big Thunder, they're going to Jungle Cruise, and Haunted Mansion. So it's like so interesting how space ends up being dead, even for regular folks at 9 o'clock. But early entry, we're doing space, we're doing Buzz, and then we're going to head over and do the rides that are super easy to get on, so you have no need to ever bother trying to get over there, and do your Dumbo and your Little Mermaid and your Pooh. You're probably doing, you might actually do, they're doing Genie Plus. You're booking a Haunted Mansion. You're going to be able to do re-rides on Space. You're going to be able to do re-rides on Buzz. You're going to be able to do re-rides on Pirates, like all these things. If you do, this is the order of exactly what I would do. We're going Space. We're going Buzz. We're going Pooh. We're going Dumbo. We're going Haunted Mansion Lightning Lane. We're doing, or if, depending on if it's 9 o'clock, we're doing Haunted Mansion without our Lightning Lane. Then we're going to Pirates. Then we're going back and doing our Haunted Mansion Lightning Lane. And we're booking a Pirates to redo that one. Actually, probably wouldn't book a Pirates. Probably book a Space Mountain on this one. And then, yeah, we're pretty much done everything. Like, you're going to pick up a Small World whenever you want on Genie Plus. You can pick up a Pirates anytime on Genie Plus. You can pick up a Carousel anytime on Genie Plus. Same with Little Mermaid. Same with Pooh. Same with Dumbo. Same with Buzz. Spaces, you're only somewhat tricky, but you won't have to wait more than a half an hour or 45 minutes for a space that early in the morning. Everybody else is booking everything else.
I will just mention the Carousel is not eligible for Genie Plus Lightning Lane bookings.
Okay. Well, who cares? That thing's less than 20 minutes.
I understand that, but I'm just making sure that everybody here is
Book
aware.
a Lightning Lane for Prince Charming's Carousel. It's the easiest one to get because no one can get it.
I'm
They don't
editing
have
that
a Lightning Lane for that?
No,
You can
there's no Lightning Lane for that.
Leave it in. Nah.
But I would say the reason that, like I said, is just because it is Thanksgiving week. If those Fantasyland rides do not have those low waits, those times to book can get later and later depending on crowd level.
Yeah,
So,
well, again, as long as we're doing our... I used Genie Plus last year or the year before. I have a YouTube video of it, and it was the week of Thanksgiving, and I did every single attraction in Magic Kingdom using Genie Plus. So it's totally plausible. I even did Hall of Presidents that day, kids. That's right.
wow.
I did Hall of Presidents that day. I did every single thing, all the shows, fireworks, everything. I did every single thing you could possibly do in Magic Kingdom the week of Thanksgiving using Lightning Lane's Genie Plus and no early park entry.
Yeah.
So it's totally doable.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. So it really just depends. The other thing to just realize with this list is that Tron is on this list. So you're going to have to pay attention to those boarding groups depending on what Tron group you get. If you get a super early group, just understand that you're pretty much going to have to go straight there. You might be able to fit one thing in for rope drop before you go if you've got within the first 15 groups.
I would do Space still before Tron because Space is annoying and it can get really long, like walking through that. And where you exit is the entrance to Tron.
Right.
So I think that's still good and Tron won't back up. This is the thing with Tron. If you don't get a really early boarding group, and I mean like 15 or less, that line can get pretty wicked, like an hour plus, and you're out in the sun baking. So yeah, it's a little crazy.
Yeah, so just be prepared for that. Most of the time, I would say give yourself at least a full hour. So if you're booking Genie Plus and trying to maneuver things around your Tron time, you're going to have to make sure you give yourself probably a full hour at Tron at least.
Yep. Yeah. Stinks.
So,
I'm sorry. That's just the truth.
Yeah. It is what it is. Now, if you don't want to deal with that and you have it in your budget to buy an individual Lightning Lane, that's a different story. And you just have to make that decision on, do we want to waste that time waste, I put in quotes, that time waiting in the Tron line, or do we want to spend money to ride Tron? And it may depend if your whole group is not
Depends on your
riding it.
family. Yeah, there's so much stuff that goes into that.
Yes. Yeah. If you've got kiddos that are too short or kiddos that don't want to ride or only one of you wants to ride, then maybe that's something that you do. But Tron is typically 20 to 25 per person for the individual Lightning Lane. Virtual queue is free, and that's separate from your Genie Plus. So you're already probably paying, this is the week of Thanksgiving, you're probably paying $30 a person for your
more.
Genie Plus. Yeah. So keep that in mind if you want to spend that extra fund or not is, completely dependent on your budget for the trip.
I'm very frugal, so when I get Genie Plus, even when it's on a Carpe Diem, we try to squeeze every ounce of Genie Plus that we can. Like, we could get another Lightning Lane? Let's do it.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, I'm an attractions-based person. I know Kate is the same way. You're the same way. Like, actually, you like shows a lot, too. But for me, I love when I can get like 20 plus rides in a day. That's a sick day. Like then I don't feel that horrendous, and I paid like $1 extra per ride if it's $20 or whatever. Like to me, I feel like I got my value out of it. If I got on 10 things, I'm like upset with myself and really angry, and I'm like, why did I even do this?
I get that way when I help others book. There are groups that I've helped before with either our friend Barbie or that I've done where it's like 3:00 and we've gotten through their whole list. I'm like, okay, what do you want next? And they're like, oh no, we're good for the day. And I'm like, you sure?
Listen, I'm going to get on a flight. I'll be there, and give me your magic band because I'm now you.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't condone doing that though.
No, no. You can't even do it anyway if you wanted to. Like, Lord knows. By the way, if you didn't know this, fun fact, they like they don't keep your fingerprint on file, but what they do is they find patterns in your fingerprint and they assign it a number. And then whatever that number is when it goes up, like, and I think there's only like, I don't know how many numbers, but it's either like 1 through 10 or 1 through 100. And you scan, and if number 27 doesn't come up, so you'd have to somehow figure out a way to like know who else is a 27.
The same number as you.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's like it's pointless. You can't do it if you wanted to.
No,
you couldn't do it if you wanted to. It's impossible.
But yeah,
if
people don't utilize the full extent of their Genie Plus days, I'm like,
that's a waste.
You sure? Are you sure? I'm happy to book literally anything else that you want.
Rich people problems.
Not me. That is not me.
No.
But yeah, so from there, depending on whose guide you take, either mine or Kirk's, but basically it's going to leave you with the you're going to book Haunted Mansion, you're going to hit Pirates, you're going to hit the Tiki Room at some point over in that area, and then depending on what you haven't hit already, if it's Fantasyland or if it's Tomorrowland, you'll do the opposite after that point.
Yup.
Shall we move on to day 2?
Yeah. Beat that itinerary. Done. Get out of here. Let's tackle the next one. Day 2, we're in studios.
Day 2, yep.
We've got Rise, we've got Smuggies, Runaway Railway, Slinky Dog, Toy Story Mania, Frozen Sing-Along, Tower of Terror. So you're looking at all the e-tickets of this place, which, again, we're using Genie Plus, but no DAS. Rise is going to be, I think you're going to be with me on this. We're not buying Rise. We're using early entry and running it.
Probably.
To save money, unless they want to spend the money on the individual Lightning Lane, but I don't think that's worth it.
It's so hard with Rise because it's a 50-50 shot of it being open for early entry.
Yeah, but if we're looking at, all right, ready? Let's play the game. What Lightning Lane would you book? So looking at their lists, we should be on par for this one for the same thing of what you would book. You ready?
I would hope so.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Slinky Dog.
Slinky Dog Dash.
Yep.
You would book Slinky because that's the most challenging one.
If you don't book it in the morning, you're out of luck. Like, it's going to be rough to fit it in and to be able to still do everything else you want to do.
Yeah, it's going to be really challenging.
And then rope dropping Rise in a perfect world and hoping that it all pans out for you. And if it doesn't, then you pivot and you adjust and figure
Yeah, I
that
mean,
out
if
from there.
if Rise isn't working and it's really important to you, you just hawk the times and see what it looks like. And then
Mhm.
worst case scenario, we're getting in that line with 1 minute left at 8:59, and whatever it is what it is. And
Right.
we hope the ride doesn't break.
Right. Yeah,
You
and
know,
that exactly. A Smuggler's Run looks like they've only got one adult doing it. I would suggest just doing
single
single rider
rider.
with that one, because even if you do the standby queue, you're probably going to end up being an engineer anyway. So why, might as well cut your weight and do a single rider with that. After you have done well, but the single rider line for that typically doesn't open up until what, an hour or so after park open.
Yeah, so it's not a. It doesn't really matter when you do it,
Yeah.
but you do have to wait for it to open. It usually will take until sometime around like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. So hitting Rise and then going to do your Toy Story stuff, Slinky Dog and Toy Story Mania. But yeah, then from there, you're going to hit your Toy Story stuff, do the Frozen sing along, and then Tower of Terror is the last thing that you have on your list. So that is
Yeah, and getting
no
all of
problem.
these, like uh once you grab your Slinky, then your Runaway, then your Tower, I mean your Toy Story Mania, you can grab it anytime. It's not a big deal. Smugglers is an annoying lightning lane to get, but again, if you're a single, just do single rider and you're good. Frozen, just
Right.
make sure you don't miss because these go off every hour, but they do stop somewhere around either 6 or 7 is the last showing. So
Yes.
just don't miss Frozen sing along. I've done it plenty of times. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's 7, but
I want to
I've missed
say
it, so
that
don't
it's,
listen to me.
I want to say that Beauty and the Beast is on the hour and Frozen is on the half hour and it's a 6:30 show is their final
See,
one.
that's why you don't listen to me and why I've missed it every time because I'm like, it's probably 7, and then it's like,
It's
oh, it was
not.
6:30.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yes. So, yeah. So just pay attention to those. A lot of people don't realize that those shows at studios have such a smaller window that they run.
Yep.
So just, yeah, pay attention to that. But
We
that studio
tackled
stays
that itinerary.
done. Check.
Yeah, good.
Okay. The last day that we have is an Epcot day. Again, we're looking
Oh,
to
this
adults.
is a fun one. This is
Two
actually a really
kids.
fun lightning lane about what to book because we're in Epcot. And
Yeah.
I think there's two different thoughts here. There's logic and reasoning behind both, and I think both are good. They're solid.
Are we ready? Are we going to do our 3, 2, 1?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Three, 2, 1.
Remy.
Frozen. Woo! This is controversy. All right, why would you pick Rem?
Because 9 times out of 10, you're coming from the front of the park. And I would rope drop to Frozen, and I would not rope drop all the way back to Remy if you're coming from the front of the park. Now, if you are entering through International Gateway, that could change things, but I would most of the time I would book a Remy and rope drop Frozen.
I like always going through International Gateway to get to Remy because it's closer.
Yes.
And it tends to be easier to get to, get on, get off. And they usually open that earlier than the front of the park. So like where early entry might start letting you in at like 8:20, they'll start staging you, but they'll hold you over by like the land area where if we go over to International Gateway, you're usually in the line by like 8:15, 8:20. You're already in Remy's. So that's why
Gotcha.
I go that. The
Yeah.
other thing too is like I would rush just because I don't like waiting in the Cosmic line forever. I would go Remy. I know this stinks logically, but I would do Remy and then walk all the way to Cosmic, do Cosmic, and then I'm doing my Lightning Lane for Frozen.
No.
I
Oh,
know.
that's terrible.
I know. It's a
See,
lot.
that's-
No, it's not terrible. It's the right thing to do. It's just a lot
No.
of walking.
I would rope drop Frozen, then do your Cosmic time, and then from there
What's the
go
difference?
to Remy.
What is the difference? It's literally
It's
the
on the
exact
same side.
thing.
No.
It's literally the same exact thing.
No.
Well, then fine. Then, all right, ready? To make you happier, why don't we go to Remy first, then we'll do our Frozen, and then we'll go to Cosmic because it's on the same.
You could do that too.
Is that okay? It's the
That's
same
better.
thing. It's just
Sort of.
backwards.
Yeah, Kate says not walking like that with kids. Exactly. It's too much. It's too much. Depending on how old your kids are. If your kids are older, then different
It's
story,
called
but-
a stroller all the way up until 8. They're not walking. You are. And that's what we would do with our family because it's the right thing to do.
Kate says her kids
sometimes-
don't have strollers.
My kids have strollers.
Her kids don't though. Her kids do
Her
not
kids
have
are big
strollers.
kids. They've got big legs. Move your big legs and go. Don't give me this nonsense. My kids are
Okay.
park pros, man. They're
Anyway,
beasts. They do like 6 and 7 mile days easy in Busch Gardens, and they without breaking a sweat. No pickups, no nothing.
Kate, you're gonna have to go on his side and argue it because I'm not gonna be in the middle of this anymore.
Nope. If you come over here, I'm muting you, Kate. I will only argue through Jackie. I refuse to
Anyway,
argue directly.
pick your route accordingly. Either way, that gets you done with Cosmic, Remy, and Frozen to start. After that, I would suggest doing Soarin' from there because that's going to be your next lightning lane that you're going to want to book after whatever your first one was. And then you'll be able
Frozen's
to
a
do.
harder lightning lane to get.
Oh, no, I disagree. I strongly disagree. Frozen is much easier to get than Remy. Notice how Kirk has disappeared off of his screen
It's because
he
I'm laughing
knows.
profusely. That was okay. Welcome to me having fun. I know that would upset her, so that's why I threw the wrench. It was like throwing like an M80 and then ducking for cover.
You literally ducked for cover
Oh
out of
yeah,
the frame
dude,
of
I
the
was
video.
dying laughing. Oh, so good. Anyway. Yeah, don't
Anyway,
listen
so
to that.
then
That was a
after
joke.
Soren, you're going to hit Figment and then Nemo. From Nemo, I would go back up to Spaceship Earth and then hit Three Caballeros wherever it makes sense in your way around World Showcase because you can't Genie Plus it anyway. It's not eligible for a Lightning Lane.
There you go.
Where's the catchphrase?
You got to say it for once. It's your
We
show.
tackled that itinerary.
Woo! We did it.
Woo!
We did it. It was successful.
That pretty much wraps up the itineraries that we had. Thanks for hanging and thanks for your input tonight. I appreciate it. If you are not already following Kirk, which I'm pretty sure the majority of you that are here are already following him, give him a follow. He does go live in the Florida theme parks Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, typically with some extra little times thrown in there for spooky season because he's got a million other things going on right now. And as always, if you're looking for ways to reach us at Mom Street, you can always reach out to us at momstreetusa@gmail.com. You can message us on Instagram, on Discord. If you're not part of our Discord, I did mention it briefly earlier. The link is up in our bio and also in Kirk's bio because it is his Pocket Fam Walrus Carp Discord that Mom Street has a channel on. So you can always find us there as well. And with that, I think we will say have a lovely evening and I will see you next week.
Perfect.
Were you listening to anything I just said?
No, because it doesn't really apply to me. It's like, all right, that's cool.
Well, have a good night, Kirk, and we will see you on your next live, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Thanks for coming. Always a pleasure when you come visit us on Mom Street.
Dude Street out.
Bye, guys.